Hi, everybody, welcome back to NYC Summit, AWS's annual event here at the Javits Center 2025. My name is Dave Vellante. John Furrier is also in the house, and we're here with Tom Soderstrom, who's AWS Enterprise Strategist and CUBE alum. Good to see you, Tom. Thanks for coming back on theCUBE.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so your former AWS, you were in public sector, which we've done a ton of stuff with public sector. You were at NASA in the Jet Propulsion Lab. You were the IT CTO there, an innovation officer, and now you're working with, describe your role, you're working with customers and helping them embrace innovation, right?
So almost 5 years ago now, almost to the day, I wanted to do something new. So I was Chief Technology Innovation Officer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and we changed how we innovate. And that's kind of part and parcel. Experimenting, trying new things, which was very counterculture at the time. But it led to big things. It led to the cloud being adopted by NASA and introduced to the federal government. But for us, it was not about cloud. It was about what you can do with cloud. Can you have what Amazon calls two-way doors, where you can go through the door and come right back? So you take much smaller risk. And now I'm an enterprise. So I came to AWS and created something called the Chief Technologist Organization worldwide. So I work with public sector customers worldwide. Turns out it's very similar. Public sector is very similar to other public sector and very similar to large enterprises. So it's all very relevant. And then 2 years ago, I became an enterprise strategist, which really means that we're a small group of people that have done the transformation, the digital transformation, and lived it. So therefore we can empathize with what the problems and challenges are. And you probably guessed it, it's mostly cultural. And so we can say, here are the blockers you'll see, and here's the things that are coming that can help you. So in essence, I give advice. It's great. I just give advice and then say, yep.
It's interesting what you say about the two-way door, because you don't want to go, on-prem was always a one-way door.
It was.
You put down the capital asset. And the real value, even though back then the cloud was cheaper because IT was so inefficient, and there's some debates whether or not it is and where it is, and that's secondary. When you talk to customers, the same. It was always the agility and the ability to experiment and not go through that one-way door. That was the allure. Now, you've helped organizations like NASA, like public sector, global enterprises embrace innovation. What do you see as the similarities and differences with what you've done in the past with Gen AI today?
Great question. So I work now with commercial and public sector all over the world. And if you are a company that was a rebel at your time and you were successful, so you grew large and old, you have a challenge of innovating. It seems to be universal.
It's the way it is.
Yeah, because you have now silos and you have departments, etc. So I think when we look at Gen AI, generative AI, and now agentic AI with agents, it's the same journey as when we did cloud, but the customer or the driver for cloud were the techies, like me, Chief Technology Innovation Officer. The driver for generative AI and agents is the business leaders. So you approach it a little different, but the key is to experiment, try it. And so what I see is I see those who dare to try and dare to experiment are much more successful. And the difference with the cloud and generative AI and soon agentic AI is that the whole company can be involved. With cloud, it was techies. And eventually you showed that it paid out, it was enough volume to see that you save money. With generative AI and agentic AI, you want to see a business value very quickly, but you can get it from your finance department, from your marketing, from your manufacturing. Everybody can participate.
So you as a techie, so I'm not a developer. I would consider myself a business person. But you could speak wallet and you can speak, geek, if you will.
Yep, and I can empty that wallet.
You empty that wallet. Amazon historically has spoken to the developers, and I think a lot of its messaging is still very developer-centric. So that's why it's interesting that you've created this role, I guess, to address that assistance to that C-suite.
Yeah, we have people who led the transformation From government agencies, there's 2 of us. And then from commercial, from finance, gaming, medical. So, and we're global. So we get a lot of requests, but you're absolutely right. Amazon usually talks to builders. So we have to talk a little differently to executives. And that's really our role. So we create content, we give keynotes, but the favorite thing is really to talk to customers.
What are some of the non-obvious blockers to deploying Gen AI? I mean, we know data and governance and compliance and things of that nature. We could talk about those as well, but what are some of the sort of out-of-scope expectations that customers should be aware of? Blind spots, potentially.
I think you nailed it. It's the out-of-scope expectation. What we recommend is don't shoot for the moon right away. Instead, start with something small and fairly easy to do and involve your whole stakeholders to try to do it. Otherwise, what happens is you always have a lot of naysayers who said, we've done it this way before. We've seen these new shiny toys. They come and go. But in this one, it's different. So when you start small and you show that business value, so you work backwards from the customer problem. And so you think big. And then you start small by saying, I'm going to try this experiment and this two-way door and this two-way door, but focus on the business outcome. And then now the naysayers start seeing that there's actually results here. So now, and it was cheap and it was scrappy and it was frugal. So all of a sudden you find that one thing that really matters. Then you thought big, you started small, now you scale fast. So you put it in the cloud and it will scale up or scale down automatically. The cloud is built that way. So it all translates to lower risk.
As somebody who has been involved in moonshots and Mars shots, are you saying that, well, should the enterprise have an AI moonshot or in a North Star that they at least can communicate to the organization, or is that a distraction?
So I think, I'll explain what I did for a couple of customers. The Australian public sector. So I've come up with this idea of creating a culture of experimentation. And then what are the future trends? This is what you experiment on. So if you build it, they will come idea. So generative AI with the public sector in Australia had a meeting to talk about it, then a brainstorming session they came up with the ideas and I helped score them from LA, but basically score them by easy to do or impactful to the business. Which one do you start with?
I would say easy to do.
Easy to do.
To get some muscle memory going.
Get some muscle memory, you learn. And then, but you keep those impactful to the business. And when you're ready, you switch over and implement them. And that works really, really well. And AWS has this AI Innovation Center that we will help customers create those, especially those big things.
Interesting.
So the unexpected, like you asked, the unexpected blockers are really about, this is just a new shiny thing. Why bother? So how do you win those over? And you win them over with business results and small teams. I used to do 3 people: the IT person, the person with a business problem, and cybersecurity to make sure that you're safe, etc.
So it's cultural.
But that works really well.
And it makes sense. I mean, you get some, like say, muscle memory.
And AI is going to be the same journey.
And they might say, well, that was easy, but what's the business impact? And then you turn it around to them and say, how could you apply that to your business? And the light bulbs
Actually,
go off.
you start with the business impact. You don't do, if it's just an IT thing, don't bother.
Yeah.
It's got to solve a business problem, small problem, and start with something internal, because then you don't risk your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other fun things, you said you're not a developer, but you will be. Meet Dave, the developer. Because if you have a problem, most people when they have a problem at home, who do they turn to fix the IT problem? They're teenagers.
Sure, kids.
But
right.
With generative AI now and agentic AI, we all can become technology teenagers.
Yep.
Because you can experiment from home and it gives you immediate value. The other blocker is that generative AI sometimes is wrong. It hallucinates, but so do people. So you just have to be intelligent about how you approach it and realize that a human always have to look at it before submitting it.
Build trust. The Gen AI has to follow the leadership principle.
I know.
Yeah.
Earn trust.
So, the media will always go to AI is going to replace jobs. I mean,
Sure.
machines have always replaced humans throughout the course of history. Of course, the first time that it's in a cognitive function, so that is a little bit scary. I get it. Mark Benioff wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal saying, "I will be the last generation of managers to manage only humans. We'll be managing agents and humans." So, what does that mean? And we believe in augmentation, not replacement. But how do you see that changing the org chart? How do we manage agents differently than we manage humans?
Two of my biggest partners at NASA, at JPL, as we try to do this transformation, was the leader of HR and the chief financial officer. And the same thing is going to be true here. So from a leader of HR, how do you manage a mixture of people and agents? And it's absolutely going to happen. Today, AWS released Agent Core,
Yep.
where it's going to be able to scale up to 1,000 agents right away. That's 1,000 employees doing something specialized, but they're able to reason like a human would. But they're not going to have necessarily the final say. Humans need to do that. So when I talk to people that I have mentored throughout the years, and I ask them, how do you use generative and agentic AI? It's very interesting. I expected them to say, it codes some things for me. But no, it becomes their coding advisor. One of them takes two different models, and he says, same problem to both of them. Both of them come back very authoritatively and say, here's the answer, but they may disagree. So now he's then able to dive into that, just like we would with humans. So I think Mark Benioff is right.
So from the standpoint of the org chart, though, based on what you said, it seems to me that the org chart's fundamental structure stays the same, but the individuals in the org chart now have a number of resources, agents, working for them.
Yep.
That they are in charge of.
Yeah.
So I, as a top leader in the company, my job is to enable that and train them to be proficient.
And not be afraid of it. And
What do
I
you
think so the difference between generative AI and agentic AI and plain old AI.
Why are we in the future?
Yeah. Is that agentic AI can reason, and it can make decisions and change its mind and pivot, just like people can. So, but they're going to be specialized. You're going to have an agent that's really specialized on payroll, another one that's specialized on invoicing, etc. So I think the org chart is going to be super interesting.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, and I think if for the listeners here, the opportunity is to create the new role before it exists. So I was fortunate enough to create the NASA CTO role and the data scientist role. And I'm not talking to all the new chief AI officers. What does it look like? If you create this new role before it becomes vogue, promote your own people into those roles, it'll be like Wayne Gretzky. Why is he successful? Because he goes to where the puck went to where the puck was. Same thing here. They will rise to the expectations. And then if it becomes important and takes off, you couldn't afford to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're already there. So I think that's a really fun thing to do. Create these new roles. Mixture of agents and people.
One of the exciting things about agentic AI is the potential to really reimagine the organization.
And the partners.
And the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how do you help organizations, or how should organizations approach this in terms of avoiding paving the cow path?
Good.
Meaning, we're gonna automate the existing process, even if it's not the best process.
Yeah. Do you remember in the olden days something called robotic process automation?
Sure, right? Yeah.
That's what they did. That was the problem with that. That they paved the cow paths.
Yeah.
We have an old process. We'll automate it. Let you automate the process that's no longer relevant. It just does the no longer relevant work faster. So part of it, when I advise people, is rethink work. focus on why you're in business and focus on those. And how can you work backwards to do something that can move that forward? And so that there may be processes that just go away. In fact, we know there are with these. And do those people lose their jobs? Not necessarily. I'm asked a lot by customers, I don't have the people I need. And we, enterprise strategists, typically say, yes, you do. They don't have the skills they need. But for every new technology that's coming out, are you going to fire a bunch of people and hire a bunch of new people to learn the business? No, upskilling and training. And AWS is focused on that. We're going to train 2 million people here in 2025 in AI skills for free, or mostly free. So that's the opportunity for these companies to think backwards, think big, then start small and have your own people learn on the job. And learning on the job now with Agentic AI is going to mean people and agents and what works best together. It's a fun new world. Yeah.
In the 1960s, I think it was IBM. I know it ran on an IBM mainframe. I think it was IBM introduced an experiment called ELIZA. And ELIZA was this sort of conversational AI, essentially.
Yeah.
And people at the time felt like, wow, this could be a companion, a digital companion. They probably didn't use that word. And I don't think they used the word chatbot. They used something different. But how do you think about AI as a companion? I mean, I talk to AI all the time.
So I think that AI, the naysayers, this is just another new shiny thing. They're downplaying how important this is, how it affects everybody. And I was sitting on a plane next to an older man who was a musician, but his hands were not working anymore. So he's talking to his iPad, and he's talking to his assistant. And her name was Betty. Betty was awesome. She knew about his medical condition. I looked at their transcription and where he should go, support groups. And also, he had moved to a place in the country, a new place, that she advised him how to meet people. It was AI. It was generative AI. So it's going to be with us. In 1900, the average lifespan was 47. In 2000, it's 77. It's 2100. I have no idea. But we're getting implants. We're getting the deaf can hear, the blind can see. We're going to live longer. And AI is going to be the thing that manages all of that. So it's not just a new shiny thing. I have grandkids now.
Yeah.
They are raised by white noise generators, cameras in the crib. AI is our lifelong companion.
So, they say if we live to 2050, we may live forever. I'm not sure I want to live forever. But how do you imagine, how do you think about humanity in a digital AI world? How will humanity be preserved?
That's a super interesting question. It's not my area of expertise. I'm not sure it's anybody's area of expertise.
No, that's why I throw it out.
I think AI is a tool. It's a very capable tool. In fact, it's many different tools. So it's about learning how to use that tool. It's not going to solve everything. It does not replace human judgments. Because if you look at it at scale, AI may make the wrong assumption and go for the most expedient, efficient way, whereas a human would not go that far. They would say, no, we're going to do this way. So I think that I don't think that Arnold is going to come down and kill us all. I think AI will be a very useful tool. And I am asked a lot by college students, especially. They're really worried about this. And in order to understand it, you have to try it. You have to use it. Turning your back and saying, we should not be investing in AI. We should not be researching. That's hopeless because somebody else will. And now you fall behind them. And you're not going to lose your job to AI. You'll lose your job to the ones that learn AI. And so I think agents, what I like about that especially is the way Amazon is now structured is you can use the AWS infrastructure, which is humongous, or you can reach out using open source protocols with a model context protocol and now A2A, agent-to-agent interface. etc. So partners can be much more productive. I think that's one that they haven't tackled yet. We tend to think of ourselves as trust my own data. But if you could have agents that trusted agents, imagine what you could do. You could partner differently. I think the biggest opportunity is to have guardrails that protect you within the way you work, but that they're automated. In NASA in the early days, we had person approving, another person approving, another person approving, and they were inserted because we failed an audit. Those can all be automated, and you speed it up, and new job functions. So I'm getting excited.
I think as an industry, I don't think we've ever been more excited. I've seen every wave,
Yeah.
And this feels like I'm 90+% confident that this will be bigger than the previous waves that we've seen. I think it's bigger than cloud, bigger than internet, definitely bigger than PC.
And when you tie it into robotics, which goes to my background, it's pretty exciting. But also the robots that can help disabled people at home. So we tend to think of robot as something negative. We now have just released our millionth robot in Amazon.
I saw that.
And
more robots now than humans in the
ton of new jobs.
Yeah,
tons. So it's not like those people were fired. They were able to do more things.
Yeah. I wish I could continue with you, but we're out of time. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you very much, Dave. This
Really
is such a
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
And you
Yeah.
guys do such a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We see it reinvent, if not before. All right, and thank you for watching. This is Dave Vellante for John Furrier and the entire CUBE team from AWS Summit in NYC 2025. We'll be right back right after this short break.